Before this video starts, I'm going to make a promise to you. I promise that if you watch through this whole video, by the end of the video, you're going to completely understand why you've been repeating the same mistakes over and over again, trying and failing, trying and giving up, and why you haven't gotten to a point where you're actually making consistent progress. And then I'm going to show you how to make that consistent progress, what action you need to take. All I'm asking you is just to lock in for 10, 15 minutes, and I guarantee that I'll get you to understand those things. Let me tell you a story. This story starts back when I was in middle school. It was a time where I had just sort of figured out about corn, you know what I'm talking about, and it had become a daily habit for me. I never really thought anything of it. I was just doing it as a little kid. I thought, this is an amazing discovery. And a couple months after figuring out about it, I went on this trip with my family. I was a very little, very horny kid, and I remember specifically thinking about doing it. I was like, I miss it. I want to do it. But I'm with my family. I'm sharing my bathroom with my brother, and I probably shouldn't do it. But you know what happens? All of the thoughts in my brain telling me to not do it, that it's not the right thing, they just vanish. At that night when I was taking a shower, I didn't even look at any videos. I don't even think I did that at the time. I was just looking at pictures. And so I do it in there, and the most specific thing that I remember from this entire trip was that right after, my thing started to burn. It was literally on fire. Anything that touched it, it would just sting like crazy. I don't know what they put in those shampoos in those hotels, but it's gotta be something crazy. And the craziest part about this story is what I'm about to tell you next. Even though literally my dick was on fire, the next night, I still ended up doing it again. I was like, yeah, I would rather have my dick burn for the rest of the night than not get a nut off. That is how down bad I was getting. And a couple months later, when I figured out about NoFap, I was so at shame. I was just thinking about everything I had done, how I was doing this every single day, and it made me feel terrible about myself. And I looked back at that trip and what I did on that trip, and I was disgusted. And every guy knows what happens when you figure out about NoFap. You vow to yourself that you're never gonna do it again, that you're gonna be on NoFap, that you're gonna remind yourself every day not to do it, and you're gonna break free. But then after one day, 2 days, you relapse. And I was so motivated in the very beginning. I thought about NoFap all the time. I was like, I have to be this guy who's on NoFap. I never got to a point where I even got past 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I couldn't not bust a nut for 2 weeks throughout an entire year. That is how bad my progress was. And I'm betting if you're a guy, you know this exact cycle, this exact story, you've lived this. The story that I have with NoFap is a very common one. And I'm gonna explain to you why I was in that repeated cycle. What would happen is I would think about NoFap. I would think about it all the time. NoFap was something I was very serious about. But the problem is when you think about something all the time, when you think about it so much, when you repeatedly tell yourself not to do something, you think about it more and you become more likely to do it. So that led me to relapsing. But when I relapsed, it would lead me back to NoFap, which would cause me to then, again, think about it all the time and think, oh, I gotta be on NoFap, which would then cause me to relapse more and have more urges. So the cycle, as you can see, it just goes on forever and ever. And this is one of the examples of the law of reversed effort, which states that the more conscious effort you put in to doing something, to achieving a certain goal, the less likely it will be to happen. So I was trying super hard and consciously thinking about NoFap so much that it made me fap more. And what this graph down here represents is all of the things that you are trying to do. NoFap, a new daily routine, a business, but every single time you try, you fail, you give up, and then you try to start again, and then you give up. It just seems like you don't have enough motivation, you don't have enough willpower to get there. There's something I want to reframe in your mind right now, because you are asking the wrong questions. You're probably asking yourself, how are other people more disciplined than me? How do they just have more willpower? And so you think the solution is just to put in more effort and try even harder and to just do the difficult things. And yeah, of course, discipline is good. And willpower is good. And getting more of that literally does just come from your mindset. But the successful people, the intellectual people, they don't rely on effort or willpower. They rely on something else that I'm going to get to later. So if you want to see how successful people actually stay productive, then stick around. The problem with willpower is that it doesn't last forever. And if it did, everyone would be completely successful, be super productive. We would all get everything done that we wanted to get done because we could just rely on our willpower to do it. But willpower runs out over time, especially when you're doing difficult new things that you don't really want to do. Let's say this graph right here represents a new routine that you're doing. You start off this new routine with a lot of motivation. You're all the way up here. You have maximum willpower. But throughout the day, your willpower just goes down and down. And let's say this little tick right here, each one of these ticks is a day. By the end of the day, you're at super low willpower. You're at 0 willpower. But as you know, You don't just instantly, when you go to sleep and wake up again, have infinite willpower and just are able to start over the day with maximum willpower again. It's not how it works. This is why willpower is so unreliable. It just runs out. It runs out very quickly. You don't end up gaining as much energy or motivation or willpower the next day. So it is so much harder to get the same amount of stuff done, to put as much effort in. The first day was good. It was difficult. You use all of your willpower to get everything done. But the second day you get less done. Your willpower runs out earlier and you're not as productive as you were the day before. And on day 3, you gain even less willpower. And since you don't have as much energy, you get way less done. You run out of willpower halfway through the day and you're already playing video games again and doing the bad habits. You've completely given up on your new routine of meditation and reading and going to the gym. This cycle right here probably feels very familiar to you. And it also does to me. This problem affects everybody. I still struggle with this too, I understand. It is an absolutely vicious cycle, and the main problem is how you're thinking about it. The way that I used to think, and the way that I bet you think, is I need to just do more. Why can't I be disciplined? Why can't I just stay productive? I know I can. I could just choose to. So I'm gonna keep trying to do more and more and more, and eventually I'll see progress. Eventually I'll just stick to the plan and I'll be insanely productive. But productivity doesn't just fall out of the sky and into your lap. Even though you can kind of build these things, nobody has infinite discipline or willpower or energy. The problem with all of this and the mindset that you have to do more is that you never become consistent. Consistency is more important than the amount of work that you're putting in. It's more important than the intensity of your work. It is the most important thing. I want to tell you an analogy that I always give. And this is going to prove to you that doing more and trying to do everything is not the way. You need to get this into your head. So there are 2 lifters. Lifter A lifts in like a madman. He goes crazy every single day. He works out perfectly. Perfect workout routine, perfect recovery, perfect nutrition. Lifter B kind of sucks at lifting. He doesn't really know what he's doing. He goes around the gym. He works out kind of hard, but it's not very good. His diet is kind of shit. And he doesn't really make a ton of progress. Who do you think has a more jacked physique? You're gonna obviously go with lifter A. But now what if I tell you that lifter A only lifted for 1 month and lifter B lifted for 10 years? So now you're probably going the complete opposite way. Of course, if he's lifting for 10 years, lifter B has made way more progress. This is why you must be consistent. If you are not consistent, you'll lose all the progress even if you're doing everything perfectly. Yes, of course, doing things very well, with high intensity, with high volume, while being consistent is the best place to get to. You aren't going to get there instantly. So how do you get out of this infinite cycle? There are only 2 things that you can really do. And one of them is doing less, and the other is doing more effortless things. I'm gonna start with effortlessness. There are things in your life that feel effortless. They don't feel like work to you, but they would feel like work to me. And this could be a number of things. A type of workout, it could be a creative passion of yours. The more effortless things that you have in your schedule, the easier it will be to be consistent. The cheat code to consistency is effortlessness. When it feels like you don't have to try to get things done, you will get things done consistently. Every single day, you will do the things that feel like they aren't even work to you. They're more like fun. It sounds obvious, but you need to start implementing more of these things into your schedule because it will make it that much easier for you. And this second part is not the one that you want to hear. This is probably what your to-do list looks like. You have so much going on. You have so much on your plate. You're trying to get every single task you can possibly get done during the day. And it burns you out really quickly. It's super hard for you to get to all of these difficult things. It's hard for you to have this insanely strenuous new routine. And everyone tells you, oh, just work harder. Oh, just be more disciplined. Just do it, just be more disciplined. That's not the answer. The answer is to take stuff off of your plate. Get rid of tasks. And the few tasks that you do have, you want them to be effortless. Obviously, some things that you have to do, like exercise, might not feel effortless for you ever. But the more of these guys that are effortless, that don't feel like work to you, the better. But I bet your schedule has not been light. It has not been easy on you. But I'm not telling you to go easy on yourself. But you have to be able to run a mile before you run a marathon. Here's the sauce on how to become consistent. Every single day, from this day on, I want you to refine your schedule. I want you to build a daily schedule that you believe you can follow. And if you don't follow it the next day, you make it even less and try to make it even more effortless for yourself. And when a certain schedule starts to become consistent, every single day, and I'm talking multiple weeks at a time of you doing the same schedule every day without fail, then and only then is when you start to do more, when you start to increase volume. Because like I said, I myself have been doing this recently and it's been helping me so much. Focus on doing better and being consistent before you ever increase your intensity or try to do more. That is the bottom line, and I won't keep you here any longer. So, as always, Never stop improving. You'll be grateful for it later.